It's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's Superhero Slate. It's a modern podcast where we talk about everything that's great, like movies, TV, superheroes. It's Superhero Slate. Oh yeah.
Hello everyone and welcome to Superhero Slate, the show where we run down the latest superhero entertainment news.
We love TV, movies, and superheroes, so let's talk it all out.
My name is Chris Dillard.
And my name's Mike Royer.
And this week, we're taking a look at the future of DC's movie and TV output.
Hasn't that just been like the last 8 years?
It kind of has been.
This show.
Yeah, this is getting wild because like we've got like four of these items. I'm like, these should have been out. These should have been done. I don't know. It's all a big mess, Mike. And we're just gonna go through the news because that's what we do. We cut through all the crap and get you guys what's real news out here, including the season 2 trailer for Loki that came out early in the week. So
yeah.
Right hot off the heels of Secret Invasion ending, Loki comes out with the old left hand and gets us that. So we'll talk about that trailer and some cool stuff in that. The Mandalorian could actually be turned into a movie for season 4, Mike.
As long as Dave Filoni is involved again.
Yeah, exactly, and more.
Yeah, last week, if you listened, we were constantly monitoring the temperature of my current room. So AC still not fixed, but strategizing this time around, right, Chris?
Yeah.
We are recording a little bit earlier, so I'm a little bit more fresh in my day. So the sun's not quite as hot. We still have some latent cool temperatures in this room, so hopefully this will feel a little less manic than it did last week.
That's right.
May not be what you want. Maybe you want the manic.
It depends on your manic. You have two different types of manic, and we'll see which one we tap into today as the show progresses on. On that note, Mike did last weekend get to see the early screening of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, and I got to watch it this weekend.
Oh, finally. I was going to ask you, but I was afraid the answer would be no, you didn't go and see it.
Yeah, no, I got it in for today's recording because I was like, Mike's going to chastise me if I don't watch this before it comes out.
I would have.
Because I'm not going to see, I forewent Barbie and Oppenheimer to watch this one, Mike. I had a choice of 3, so I went with this. And I tell you what, this movie didn't really go the way I expected it to go, and that's a good thing. Like that's like a good thing, right? Like I'm used to the old Ninja Turtles and all this stuff, so it was really fun to get surprised by a story that I'm not familiar with in the turtle realm. Overall, it's like a it's a hero's journey kind of story, but like it was still fun to dive in with these characters. It was really fun. My wife didn't know about all the special voice actors, like the guest cameos in this, so I gotta really like tell her like as things are leaning over to him, like she's like, why is this fish singing? I'm like, well, that's Post Malone. Because Ray Fillet is definitely a highlight for this, Mike. I definitely would think he is a character, and again, Paul Rudd and everybody else, and it was really fun. It's a good time. I agree with you. I mean, there's not much to say about this. It's really emphasizes the teenager part of the teenage, the mutant and the teenage part are really emphasized in this. The ninja part kind of glossed over, I feel, but in a fun way, because you didn't tell me this. I don't think it's a spoiler, but they interspersed live action video in with this animation. And that really was like a fun little thing for me, because I'm like, oh, like they're in a real world kind of thing. Like it's an animated world, but they're still the real world, right? To them, they're watching movies that look like our movies. So I thought it was really cool.
And I also, just in general, trying to avoid spoilers just because I want people to go see this movie because it's so great. They do a good job of just they'll reference anything and everything. Like, if it's like a Paramount product, right, that they can easily get the rights to, they'll throw like a costume like SpongeBob in the middle of Times Square or something like that, right?
Oh.
But there's nothing stopping them from like referencing something from like another movie, another franchise, another studio. So like they really just I feel like this more often than not, like I feel like I never say this about animation when it comes to movies, but like the screenplay is so good, but also I think the screenplay is elevated by the fact that and I don't remember if I brought this up on the show last week or if I saw this interview clip after we recorded, but all of the 4 boys that do the voice of the Turtles all recorded in person in the same room, and you totally get that in the performance.
Yeah. And there are moments in this where it's just 4 teenage boys just jiving off each other like the whole time, like several times in this, and that's really fun. I'm like, oh, this feels like this is really hitting the teenager part. Obviously, the title's Mutant Mayhem. There's the mutant part later, but like it was really like, you know, compared to again the original Ninja Turtles with the motion suits, right, where a couple of other like teenagers beat up Raphael. Like they really kind of lean into like their mutant power. Like they're like, oh, we're a little stronger in this one, right, a little more agile. You can do that with the animation, but like, you know, I agree. Like there's references in here, and I will tell you, you know, if you look, there are 2 soundtracks to this, Mike. You sent me one, right? The actual songs that are in the movie.
Yeah, the film score, yeah.
Yeah, and then there's the score with Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, and like the titles alone on this, like, you know, obviously this is not. I don't think these are spoilers, but like one of them's called Megamind Groot type shit, and you're like, what is this? I know these references, but what does that mean? Or what is it? I'm trying. Oh, better than Mark Ruffalo. Like they reference literally everything in this movie, and I think that's really fun. Again, I don't feel those are spoilers, but like you're gonna want to watch and get the context for this. So I really think it's a fun time. Now, would I say, you know, to me, and this might be controversial for you, Mike, did watching this in the cinema get me anything different than if I would have watched it at home? I'm not sure, but I'm still glad I saw it at the end of the day, right? So
I had the advantage of seeing it. I don't know how packed your theater was, but since I went to an advanced screening, obviously the room was full of people that really wanted to see this movie, and I think the jokes play really well with a crowd as well. So that was great. I'm looking at I was nervous to check the box office, right, for this movie because I don't want to see bad news. I want to see a sequel, and it looks like it's performing above expectations, which is great. Yeah. So the studio is getting more than what they wanted, and also they're competing in like the 3rd week of like these mega movies like Oppenheimer and Barbie. So the fact that they can perform above expectations with that competition, I think is pretty impressive.
Yeah, I think given the choice, if you know it's August and you have the funds ability to see one movie this month, right? I would choose this over Blue Beetle already, and I've not even seen Blue Beetle, right? If I could, like, if you had one movie to see this week that's going to focus around super-powered teenagers or like young adults, this is the one I would want to go see at the end of it. But overall, you know, good time. I think, you know, the voice cast is spot on. The kids, you may not know them, but they nail the Turtles. Everybody else fits into their role really well. A lot of humor, tongue-in-cheek things. It was just a good time. Like I had a good time, and I'm glad I got to see it before. I guess this is still opening weekend. It feels like it's been out for a whole week because you saw it earlier, but it's just opening weekend. So, absolutely huge recommend. And then also, I don't have notes here, but I was telling Mike, if anybody has any like old video games they want me to play or like can recommend, send them my way because I'm diving into my childhood, like getting regular Nintendo games and playing those on my TV this week. We played my wife's friend who's a teacher, her husband was over with them, and we played all 16 tracks in Mario Kart 64 on Friday night while they were talking about school stuff. We were like, we don't want to talk about this. What are we going to do? Mario Kart 64. And let me tell you how that glitchy that game is, you know, on a 30-year delay. You hit a banana peel and like 5 seconds later you spin out kind of deal. So
I've mentioned on the show before, there's a YouTube channel called Summoning Salt where he chronicles time trials and speedruns for games. And he has a whole video about Mario Kart 64. And yeah, there's some like crazy glitches that you can do to like beat the tracks. Not even just like the little skips, right, that we learned as like kids. Oh, if I turn off this turn at Rainbow Road, I can make it down there. Like these people are just like, oh, if I hit this right pixel on this rock right here, I'll tumble until the end of the stage and clip through the map. So yeah those games are wild.
Yeah, it was fun. So highly recommend that. Let's jump into the news, Mike. Let's get into this. We don't have a lot of build up here. We want to make sure you don't cook in your room while we're recording. So we'll get started. But let's start with Wonder Woman 3, our featured image. Wonder Woman 3, Gadot, I always mess up her name, has confirmed in an interview that a movie for Wonder Woman 3 is in the works at DC Studios. But with that, Patty Jenkins is not involved in this third movie. anymore.
Yeah,
so,
I gotta imagine. We talked about it before, and whether or not the news ended up, I guess news in quotes, right, was real or not. It was the whole thing of what that whole Wikipedia article of of story arcs or something like that was going back and forth. We never really got the final answer of what was true or what wasn't, but I think if you just kind of abstract it all out, it seems like there just wasn't a great relationship there between Patty Jenkins and Warner Brothers. And who knows, maybe that poisoned the well for the second one, which both of me and you did not like. So this could be a good thing.
Yeah, and I don't know if the second one really poisoned the well. It came out again. It's one of I think it was the first casualty of COVID, right? Really, I think, where they were like, we're not putting this in theaters, we're putting it on streaming. I don't even think theaters could have saved that movie, as rough as that was. But, it got to a wider audience and bigger discourse. She probably doesn't want to come back. Then we get, new leadership at DC with a new introduction to DC Studios. Maybe this doesn't fit into her plans, but, Gal Gadot, she's been a team player, right, if you will. She's stepped up. She's the cameo queen of DC movies right now. So I nothing against her. I think she's a great actress, fits the role really well. So the trades are saying that this is likely to be a reboot for the DC universe, but using her as that character.
Man, I'm trying to think. Have we ever? I mean, I guess maybe you could kind of consider the new Daredevil show coming out to possibly be a reboot of the same actors, the same character, right?
Yeah.
But Marvel's kind of built up this whole optical lens, right, of a multiverse. I don't think we really have a big view of that in DC.
Except for that they just did a multiverse movie in The Flash that's not going anywhere at the end of the day.
Hey. That's not canon, according to Gunn. Everything before a Superman movie is
Blue Beetle.
Well, depending on the box office, will truly determine if that one's canon or not. But it really does just seem like, I mean, I know it sucks if we lost Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman because she played a really wonderful version of it. But I'm all for the hard reset right now.
Yeah.
Right? Unless they want to go, like I said before, the Sony Morbius route. They want to make this weird little fractured DC universe with it's just kids mashing toys together and they're a mixture between bad and mediocre movies. Okay, I guess go ahead and do that.
I don't think they have the backing for funding to make this to butcher to make mediocre movies. But I think here's my thing. At the end of the day, if you look at Wonder Woman 1 and 2, right, Wonder Woman 84, they are very isolated from Zack Snyder's universe because they're both in the past, really, at the end of the day, right? So
yeah, that's a good point.
If you were we want to take elements of this, we don't really have to reference them because it was in the past. They could easily kind of pull forward with that character and not have to worry about too hard. Yes, she was in the Zack Snyder movies, Justice League and Batman v Superman, but if they're well, we don't have to reference that, it'd be fine. But I agreed. If you want to do a reboot, go ahead. But I don't think as an actress, she is a problem in this role, right? This is not an issue where they've held out too long, kind of like Henry Cavill, or they burnt Ben Affleck out doing Batman. So I think if they wanted to use her, I'm not gonna be offended at the end of the day. I mean. Hell, she even made a reappearance in the Fast franchise at the end of the last one, right? Popping out of her submarine. So really, I can go either way. But if she has maybe some producer credit or something that they were like, yeah, we can use you. That's fine for me. So
also too, this is confirmation from an actor. And
yes.
One thing that we say on this show a lot is actors seem to always be the last one to know anything about their career. It seems like
9 out of 10 times if an actor is saying, I'd love to be that role, they're not going to be that role because that means they're campaigning for it. Or if an actor is I'd be honored to play that role, is more of a soft yes, or negotiations are happening. And we've got some points about that later we can talk about later in the episode. But in the same vein of remnants of the Snyderverse, there is also the question of Aquaman and the Last Kingdom coming out later this year. And currently, again, the trades are saying that it is expected to release in December, regardless of the strikes going on. the idea behind this is that the DC Extended Universe, the pre-James Gunn, Peter Safran contracts have to be like completed or released by the end of this year, I think is what it is, or like there's some sort of monetary penalty or something in there. So they're like, we got to get this out, or we have to pay out extra on top of the movie. That's probably going to just do okay at the end of the day. But, we are here. Of course, there's Blue Beetle now. We didn't have this originally. I was really kind of hoping to get a trailer for Aquaman in the Lost Kingdom before Blue Beetle, right? Really synergize one DC. Well, you're going to see Blue Beetle, so you want to get the next DC property. Now, that gives us, another week of this. Maybe next week we'll be talking about it if it drops. But I really am kind of disappointed in the promotions for this since the original stealth suit look like years ago, it feels like.
Yeah, I don't know if they're still in a decision-making status at this point with this film. But, yeah, that next trailer is going to tell us a lot about what we're going to be seeing in that final movie, right? We want to know how much Amber Heard, right, are we going to be seeing? Are we going to be seeing a rumored recast? Are they going to kind of telegraph that she's going to die very early in the first act, and they don't even have to worry about the character of Mara, right? So we're going to wait to see what happens with that. But also, if this movie is supposed to be coming out in, do we think it's December?
It's December, yeah.
I think the latest, we've been doing the show for 8 years now, so we've been trying our best to keep track of, trailer schedules just in general for Hollywood. And I feel like the latest we've ever seen a trailer premiere for a movie was maybe 3 months. And for some reason, I swear it was a Spider-Man, a No Way Home or something like that. They were waiting up to the wire, but right. I think it was because they didn't want to reveal from another movie. Yeah. So.
But also at the same time, Spider-Man carries itself, right? You don't need a lot of trailers to sell Spider-Man. Now, Aquaman, the first movie, I believe, did it make $1 billion, right? At the box office, but that was 5-6 years ago. And in a different environment for DC. So, there's definitely several ways this could go when it lands, but, you still, even if the actors can't be out here saying anything, you can still release trailers for your product. And, we've got a Loki trailer later to talk about.
They should consider themselves lucky that there is no Star Wars, James Bond, or Avatar movie this year. They got really lucky that this happened to be just an off year for a lot of big December movies.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, again, depending again on how these contracts work and all the other fun stuff, if it starts to encroach on James Gunn, Peter Safran's work to start their universe, that's going to be even more confusing at the end of the day. I remember it was a couple months ago, and was it Jason Momoa came? He was like, "I'm out of DC Studios. Let's talk to James Gunn, Peter Safran. I'm so excited," and we don't know what he's doing. So, I want that excitement. I wish that excitement was contagious for his upcoming project. But James Wan, the director of this, was just in the hospital over the weekend too, over an emergency health complication.
Oh shit!
Said he's better. I'm like, geez, all these people not doing well. So hopefully they can get out and go and we can see some of this stuff. So we'll.
Not to be glib, but he as a director in the Directors Guild, he's the only one legally allowed to promote the movie right now. So hopefully he's okay.
Did he didn't write it? You don't think? Would that conflict with his right?
He would if he wrote it, as long as he just talks about directing the movie. Don't talk about any writing in the movie.
Oh yeah, exactly. This is how we directed. We didn't use scripts. Scripts are off limit. But yeah, so we'll report. You'll come back every week if this trailer drops. We'll talk about it, break it down, and see what we think and how that's going. But the DCU as a whole, that train keeps on trucking, Mike. And the I guess the vibe, the confirmation. James Gunn is out here saying things, doing stuff, and we'll talk some more. But apparently, the animated movies for the DC universe at large are hinted at being released in theaters as well. Mike, or at least starting to be released in theaters. Now, we don't know what these entail, but we do know the some of the Gods and Monsters movies for this Phase 1, Part 1, are supposedly animated. So that sounds like, obviously, from a fiscally responsible company, they're like, we cannot just release these straight to streaming. We have to get some money back on these, so we're gonna release them in theaters.
Gotcha. So So if this is their plan, right? I'm totally on board with this, right? Because I think they're seeing the energy and the excitement, right, in the kind of Spider-Verse space, and like now with TMNT, like why can't we join that? That would be really, really cool. But I think they're really gonna have to bring it, right? I think the reason that those movies are doing so well is that they're so visually creative and unique, and birthing this new era of feature animation. So
and they're just good. I think that's not. It's not just the visuals. They are good stories and good movies. They're not just. They're not just written to be animation. We put an anime movie out, forget about it. So yes, absolutely. But go on.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, and it seems like if these are going to be tied to the DCU, I keep wanting to say DCEU, this DC universe at large, I wonder if we'll kind of get more of like a PG-13 rating on it, which would be kind of cool to have a little bit more mature animation in theater as well. So,
well, if James Gunn writes it, it'll have to be PG-13. He'll probably include some obscure sex joke or something in there.
There's a little Microsoft Clippy on his version of Final Draft that's just like, are you sure you want to use that word? How about this? How about using crap instead?
Yeah, we don't want to talk about Aquaman sleeping with fish, and we're using sleeping loosely here, but this does not include like the Tomorrowverse features, like the ones that we're used to seeing from DC Anime, right? Like the upcoming Crisis on Infinite Earths or the Watchmen, the Batman and Harley Quinn, like those animated movies they keep cranking out every like 3 to 4 months, right? Those are not part of this. This is just the DC universe. The I guess what's the word? It's like the MCU, the DCU. It's like those, anything that affects the storyline, that'll be in theaters. So that seems to be a smart approach. Again, hopefully, as you said, they take a good visual style, but also they write a good story. At the end of the day, that's what we want, and that eventually sells. I don't know if you knew this, but the movie Elemental that came out, it has been in the box office long enough to actually turn a profit and become a successful movie for Pixar this year. Nice. When you don't look at opening weekends, but like over time, they didn't just drop it on Disney Plus within like 8 weeks. They kept it in theaters, and it actually has turned a profit and become really successful. So like, this is probably I hope a good lesson for animated movies. Like you may not get it in opening weekend, but there's over time the ability to go see these movies. So
I guess we do kind of forget like a kind of a kid-centric box office is not like, no one's taking their kids on like Thursday opening night, right, for a good like strong Thursday for a Pixar movie, right? Maybe if it's like an Incredibles or an Incredibles 3,
and that's mostly adults. But yeah, so like those movies are on a different schedule, and a way to look at success is again over time. Just you don't have to dump it on streaming immediately, despite the fact we may enjoy that sometimes. But we're going to shift into Black Adam. Do you remember this movie that it came out last year? Yeah.
Boy, do I.
Dwayne Johnson has gone on an interview this week. I've linked the interview in our show notes here, and he has blamed the change in leadership for Black Adam, the character not continuing or getting more movies.
Sure.
His exact quotes, and I'm sure if you look at it through, as Stephen Amell would say, a myopic lens here. He says you had the biggest opening of your career for Dwayne Johnson, which is surprising. Sure, no China, which could have been maybe 100, 200 million more dollars. You have a superhero, and you want to grow the franchise. You bring back Superman and Henry Cavill, which the world went crazy, and we created a diverse superhero portfolio where we have just men and women of color in Black Adam. He makes some great points here. I think, obviously we want to see diverse cast, diverse actors. It did make some money, I'm sure, but we don't know those exact numbers. We've also reported as a huge loss for the studio. So I think, I don't know what the truth is here, but obviously we're probably not going to see another Black Adam movie unless Dwayne Johnson needs to put this aside, much like he did with his Fast beef with Vin Diesel, because he needs a hit on his career to make some money.
I mean, I think like two things that I would point out here is first, echoing what you just said, Chris, about those animated movies that have been coming out, like Spider-Verse or Mutant Mayhem or Mitchell's versus Machines, right? I'm talking about the visuals, and you say, but those are just good movies, right?
Yeah.
That's what you need to make,
Yeah.
Dwayne Johnson. You just need to make a good movie. And then, biggest opening of his career, which I was surprised to hear that too, since he's like the biggest paid movie star like in the world. I don't know if that's still the case, but at least it was a couple years ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like, you don't just have to have like a big like opening. You have to have like the biggest opening with some of these superhero movies, because the drop off in the second weekends are so big that like if your movie's just like mediocre, like you're not going to be successful just off of like an opening weekend. It either has to be catastrophically large, or you have to create so much buzz that people come back the second weekend. And the reviews came out, nobody really liked it, and like, why would we go see it?
Right. Well, exactly. And honestly, I think he makes some good points, but that doesn't necessarily, all these other things make it successful and mean like we want to make another one. You can have just a single movie. It doesn't need to be a franchise. Sure, it's in DC and they're going to franchise everything, but you don't have to do it. And it's Black Adam. At the end of the day, it just wasn't fun. It seemed very tropey, if you will, right? And it suffers from that clause he has in his contract where he can't lose a fight. Like at best he can draw, but he can't lose a fight. So obviously he never really lost. But I think it's going to probably suffer similar to Blue Beetle, right? The Blue Beetle has the tropiness like that, but isn't like maybe successful tropiness. So I don't know. I mean, yeah, you can blame the change in leadership. Didn't he also, remember he tried to like create like a coup in DC, right? He tried to take over DC Universe before they hired James Gunn. So there's probably a lot more to this that we don't know.
He was like, the power has shifted in the DCEU, and it's just like, man, you're a little out of touch with the fan base, Rock, because the DCEU was crumbling before your movie ever really got announced.
Yes, but and against all this, in his defense, he made what the largest personal contribution to the maybe SAG-AFTRA, maybe WGA, the fund to help people who are striking and not getting jobs during this, like keep their what's that called? The fund to support people who are not that. So
it's just the strike support fund is usually kind of how it's referred to. Yeah, I don't think anybody here is dissing just like Dwayne Johnson's just overall like personality, right? But it's just like he's a very specific type of actor who's been making very specific types of movies, and he's been successful at that. And I don't think we can just assume that you can just keep doing the same thing and keep seeing increasing results, right? Like Dwayne has transitioned from becoming just like an actor into like he is a business in and of himself, right? So, and like businesses have like that demand of growth, constant, over and over and over again. Well, if Dwayne wants to keep growing, right, he's doing right things, right? He's making his own businesses like energy drinks and stuff like that. And I'm sure he has other stuff on the side, right? I'm sure he's producing things as well that he's never even like been in with his money, which is totally fine, right? But if he wants to like catapult himself into a different stratosphere as an actor, he's got to start doing different types of roles. So he's always just being the beefcake that can't be beaten, like you said.
Well, so I looked up. I went to the numbers and pulled up his movies. And Black Adam overall, I don't have opening weekends here. Overall, domestically, Black Adam is his 10th highest movie domestically. So I don't know where he's saying like that's maybe it's his biggest opening movie as like the number one build character, you think, or like solo build character?
Yeah, possibly. Or is he just looking maybe at like Thursday preview numbers, or maybe like Friday opening?
Because I think the Fast movies he's been in probably outweigh those even. Like
it's got to be just top billing,
because I see it's the two Jumanjis he was in are 2 or 3. Moana, the rest are Fast movies, and The Mummy Returns. Somehow The Mummy got above this at the end of the day domestically.
He's co-starred primarily in those Jumanji movies.
So absolutely. I think maybe he was looking solo. If I flip it to worldwide, Black Adam moves down like 15th. So it's mostly Fast movies. Somehow San Andreas got in here. I don't know what's going on with that either. But none of these movies, other than, I would say, to me, Jumanji's good. Moana's probably the best movie he was in, right? Out of that list of movies I just named off. So yeah, you've got to be doing good stuff and not just holding yourself to tentpole blockbusters, if you will, at the end of the day. So there's opportunity for him to grow and still become a well-known and respected actor, other than just a beefcake in a film at the end of the day. But anyway, I don't think we're going to see more Black Adam, Mike. That's what the whole point is. I don't think we're going to see him anymore. No. So. Unless he makes an animated cameo in Creature Commandos. I guess he could bring him back animated. But Creature Commandos, James Gunn has confirmed on Threads, if you're not on Threads, he's on there, that season 1 of Creature Commandos is 7 episodes long. And voice acting is done, meaning it was finalized before the WGA SAG-AFTRA strikes started happening and affecting all these productions. So they are probably really a lot farther along with that than I expected them to be, really, at the end of the day.
Looking up the episode numbers for season 1 of Invincible. Okay, Invincible was 8 episodes. All right, that's what I was checking just to see what they were doing over there. And then what was Arcane? Arcane I think was around the same.
Ooh, yeah.
9 episodes. Okay. So, yeah, I wasn't necessarily expecting a lot, but 7 does seem to be just one more than like a tiny little Marvel TV show, right?
Yeah. And well, I mean, somehow, and I've not watched it yet. I've heard conflicting things. Twisted Metal got 10 episodes, and they're 20 minutes, a half-hour show, right? So, depending on, I guess, depends on how long these episodes are. But I would say with 7, probably in that 40 to 50-minute range, really. So, I'm excited to see some of this stuff, but we probably won't get promotions or stuff for a while. But I'd be excited to see what this looks like in motion, if you will. With these characters.
Yeah, we'll be inferring a lot from, just like with that next Aquaman trailer, right? We'll be inferring a lot with this Creature Commandos trailer because we've only seen that concept art, right? And concept art is only ever the concept, just like a concept car that you see at like a car show. So I'm curious to see what kind of like tone and style that they're going to set. And then that also will show you like the longevity of the project, right? Like if they're doing something really wild, unique, like tons of like just single frame animation, it might be a while until you ever see a second season because it'll take a while to make it. So that's always with the premiere of something animated. They always have so much more lead time to give you that first season.
And this kind of goes, actually, I think, the TV shows go against the other animated movies concept. I mean, you can't put TV shows in theaters. It's a foreign concept and it wouldn't make a lot of money. But like, putting this on Max, not HBO Max, to watch really... I would say almost kind of, I feel like it undercuts the animated movies in theaters, if I'm going to be honest, right? People are going to expect the animated stuff to be on Max because of this show, but we'll see if people maybe feel like they want to go to the theaters for the movies for a little bit. So a lot of questions about the future of DCEU, and a lot of questions, so we'll figure out the answers as we go. But one of the funny parts about the DCEU is that, it kind of nixed a lot of stuff in the past, one of those being the Batgirl movie, right? I know James Gunn, Peter Safran didn't nix this. They nixed this beforehand. But Blue Beetle standees are hitting comic book shops, and boy, on the bottom does it say, watch Batgirl.
Oh, yeah. At the very, very, very bottom,
yes.
The Batgirl logo.
So, yeah, I've included a tweet, and if you scroll down... I forget where it was. I had the regular stand, but there's a zoom in from the same guy that shows the Batgirl logo on the Blue Beetle standees. Now, mind you, they could have printed these a while ago, but Batgirl's been canceled for a year, maybe or more. Like, you think they maybe would have just included a sticker or something to cover it up? But like anything to not have that logo on there, but
yeah, it's such a shame. Like seeing it, just flanked by the other logos, right? Also, the Black Adam logo is there, which is really funny.
Yep.
It does just make you wonder, right? It makes you fantasize in a way of what would this all look like if it all worked out perfectly? Like if everything went the way they went, they got the box office dollars and the reviews that they wanted. Would we be seeing? Batgirl like sharing screen time with Ezra Miller in the future? Or if all this got so popular, would they somehow, try to branch the Matt Reeves, Batman universe and like pull something else into it? Yeah. It seems like, nope, that's never going to happen now.
Yeah, it's really a mixed bag down there, right? I see the Batman, Black Adam, the Flash, Batgirl. What is the one to the right of Aquaman? Can you make that one out?
Of Aquaman, is that?
It's not Super Pets, is it?
It could be. It looks a little like bouncy, like the font. It could be DC Super Pets.
It's a very large statement. Oh, it is. Yeah, I was able to open a new tab. It's the League of Super Pets, which kind of came and went under the radar as well. So yeah, I mean, it's obviously they could have printed these and like, we're saving money by just reusing them. Don't worry about it. But like, boy, that is like just a kick in the face for everyone who wanted to see this movie, right? And
also, like the funny thing is about all these logos, like I'm saying, I'm just having all of these different emotions, like seeing them all officially printed, because that means there was a strategy at one point in time. This wasn't even the original strategy, right? This was the pivot after Zack Snyder's universe wasn't working. So like now we're already on to like the next pivot already. So
well, and Blue Beetle was a streaming movie as well when they probably made these.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
It's like we're like 3 pivots away from Zack Snyder's, Mike. Like we're in a whole different town using a whole different GPS system. So it's really, disheartening that they're just sticking to it and not really adding that polish at the end of the day.
I'm confident at some point in time that Batgirl movie will be released. Not necessarily officially. I don't know if it will.
When the statutes of limitations for insurance claims go away.
Like I don't know if it'll be released like in a special collector's edition or something, but like they can't just leave that shelf. That's too big to shelf.
I don't know if you noticed that Scooby-Doo and Crypto 2 movie that they canceled. They have re-enabled that movie to be released down the road. Like they're like, okay, we didn't actually cancel it, wink wink, we were just moved it and didn't tell anybody. So they're actually going to release that movie that I've already downloaded several months ago.
Because it was on like the Internet Archive for a minute, wasn't it?
Yeah, like literally like after they canceled it, someone was like, hell with you, I'm putting it online. And so now they're actually releasing it down the road. So my guess is something about that probably made the insurance claim even worse. Like we had to cancel it for insurance purposes. But yeah, overall DC really swing and a miss this week. So I thought it was interesting that we kind of throw all this stuff in there because it is literally all over the place from front to back. We're going to shift up here in the middle. We're going to talk a little bit about The Mandalorian. Season 4, we know, has already been written, Mike. Jon Favreau said that when Season 3 was airing. So we know it's written, so it's not affected by the writing strike currently. They can't film it with the actor strike. But with the reemergence and extended contract of Bob Iger and wanting to do less on Disney Plus and more things theatrical to bring in, I guess, to level the company financially, there are early talks about converting these scripts into a movie instead. So having season 4 of The Mandalorian be just a movie at the end of the day instead of Disney Plus.
That's just so hilarious to me, right? Because first of all, I want to say I've just kind of loved this invention of streaming just in general, right? Because I love the fact that I can pay for an option to have entertainment commercial free, easily streamed in my home. I don't think that should be underappreciated or just unforgotten, right? But at the same time, it has just caused like a catastrophic shift in Hollywood, kind of in a Silicon Valley sense, where all of these other studios have just been rushing after this streaming business model, but it just has not been extremely lucrative, right? And you're seeing it right here with the CEO coming back and saying like, oh, we're not making a whole lot of money, even though like Disney Plus like just seems to be dominating for what piece of the market they want, right? They always pull really good subscriber numbers most of the times when they're doing their investor updates every quarter, right?
If you've got a family, no, you don't even have to have a family, but like most people with like families of kids are more like, this is your go-to streaming service, right? Like it's got everything you could want to. Haven't they put Bluey on this yet, or is that Hulu?
Yeah, no, Bluey is on Disney.
Yeah,
Plus.
like this is like you want to entertain your kids for days. Like this is your one service you need. They're not watching Max. They're not watching Paramount Plus. Like this is the best streaming service there is, and even they're struggling, right?
Yeah, and it's like I don't know why I've never connected the two in my head. But like, it's exactly what happened with Spotify, right? No one looks at Spotify and thinks, oh, the musicians and the record labels are definitely making more money now, right? Because like, I pay like $15 a month or $16 a month, I think now, for me and my wife to have Spotify Premium, and like that's it. Whereas like back in the day, you know, before the internet existed, you know, you could have been buying like 2 CDs a month, you know, and that's already costs more, right, than what Spotify is. And I'm listening to unlimited amounts of stuff. So basically what I'm saying is it seemed like a lot of these old Hollywood studios that tried to transition to streaming, they did it, it worked, they got subscribers, and then they're just kind of like, they kind of shrugged their shoulders like, I thought there were supposed to be like buckets of money on our doorstep once we made a streaming service. What happened here? So I do think it's funny. Now we're going the opposite direction, right? They wanted to bolster all of their streaming services so much. They were taking like theoretically an Obi-Wan movie, chopping it up into a series and throwing it on Disney Plus, and now we're going the exact opposite direction of taking a show and putting it into a movie. It's so funny.
To me, I agree with you. The funniest part to me is the show that kicked Disney Plus off, Mandalorian, is being kicked off of Disney Plus. Like this, like literally Disney Plus wouldn't have been anything without a killer launch title, right? And guess what that was? The Mandalorian. And now they're like, you know what? Mandalorian's really not doing it for us anymore. What are we going to do? We're going to turn it into a movie because, you know, I at least give them some credit. At least it's building towards something for once, right? With Dave Filoni's Heir of the Empire movie. But like, boy, howdy, this is not the news I expected. Or like whichever. No, I didn't expect this show to get the movie treatment at the end of the day.
And I think this is good because this is kind of like the direction more often I think you want to see a narrative go, right? I know like TV can do great things when it comes to really diving deep into a story, but Mandalorian has ever only been, you know, 8 episodes, and this last season proved to me that they can indeed make a boring season of The Mandalorian if they want to. So if I can just imagine the last season of The Mandalorian kind of like condensed into like a movie, and then if they had to write that script as a movie, you know, they would have got to where they needed to go quicker. They would have been more efficient. So I'm on board for a Mandalorian movie.
And so this is also, just so everyone knows, in addition to Dave Filoni's Heir to the Empire movie. So that movie is not canned. It's not canceled. This would be a movie made to, I guess, bridge that gap a little quicker, like you said, right? If again, the actor strike, you know, they're meeting, the WGA and the SAG-AFTRA, they're meeting with the AMPTP to have conversations. No one's yielding yet, but like they're having conversations, right? Which is great. So like if this continues on, this also may be why those conversations are happening, right? Like we can't produce a whole TV series. We don't have the time for it to make it for Dave Filoni's theatrical debut. We need to just strip it down, do our movie, which is a much shorter production, and get it out of there. But I agree with you. Maybe, you know, do we need all the... Despite the fact I enjoyed the Jack Black Lizzo episode of The Mandalorian, do you need it, right? Did you need it at the end of the day for that episode? Absolutely not, right? You could have literally glossed over that whole thing. The whole point of that episode was the last 5 minutes. So it was fun to see along the way, to the battle droids and like a whole iRobot scenario and Christopher Lloyd's debut in Star Wars. But like, was it necessary?
Absolutely
No, not at all. So yeah, there could be ways to do this, and we as viewers get the benefit of that because, you know, again, agreed, not the best season, but there were some fun moments that were necessary along the way, right? Like whenever what's her name? Bo-Katan saves Mandalorian from that I guess blood-sucking robot on Mandalore, which was pretty cool. So yeah, there's some cool. I am fine with this. Now, do we see this movie? If they make a Mandalorian movie, is this a movie released on Disney Plus, or do you think they're going to do a theatrical release on it?
I mean, I feel like if they're going to go theatrical, they better get outside of that volume. For at least a little bit, and shoot outside in the real world. And I know they do that for real with the actual TV show, right? But I mean, you can feel the difference between Andor and Mandalorian when it just comes to if they're in a room or if they're outside, you know.
They got to upgrade from Unreal Engine 4 to 5 for the next one.
Yeah, that's all it is.
Yeah,
that's all they need to do.
Yeah, absolutely. If they do a movie, they need to break out of the cost-saving structure that they built to. That it has uses, but again, to do the whole thing in there, You know, what they used to call it, you suite a trailer. Now you're going to volume a trailer where you just film it all in one room. But yeah, I'm okay with this at the end of the day. Hopefully, you know, I think this will be, to answer my own question that I posed to you, I think it would be a Disney Plus release, right? Like a Disney Plus movie, and like, all right, we got this. We're out of the way. Now you can continue with whatever you need to get your movie done, Dave.
If they were going to do a Disney Plus movie, I would think the best strategy would to be release it like within a month of the Dave Filoni feature film, right? And I would assume the Mandalorian movie keys right up into the Filoni movie as well. So you just like, you get, you know, 3-4 weeks of streaming that movie on Disney Plus, then you go right into the Filoni movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see, I would maybe 1 month is good. I could see also up to 3 months, just so the advertising for Filoni's movie doesn't ruin anything in this movie, if you will. But you know, there's again, what was it? Captain Marvel fed into in Endgame, right? So that was pretty fun. So I think there's opportunity to do that as well. So I don't know. We'll figure it out. But speaking of Disney Plus, things that excite us for Marvel and Disney Plus, Mike, I think we can both agree, is Loki season 2, and we got a trailer for this week, and boy, it reminds me how much I missed this. Like watching this trailer,
right?
I'm like, oh, this is fun. Again, it's the actors. Like I think it's the actors are contagious, right? And like the coolness of it. Like I was like Owen Wilson as this Mobius guy. I'm like, this is fun. We got to introduce to Kiwi Kwan's character OB right there in the beginning. I'm like, oh, this is a great intro to this.
And I think it goes to show just the value that the show gets from its production value, right? Even just watching a trailer, it just looks beautiful. It looks different. It looks fun. It looks fantastical, which is what you want when you're watching a show. Like I liked She-Hulk, right? And it's a totally different type of show, but like that's just like in lawyers' rooms, and they were at like a wedding one. Like there wasn't a lot going on there with She-Hulk. It's not like there was one episode where she like invaded a secret lab and there's like, you know, tons of like, you know, cool stuff like happening in the background, right? It was, you know, and I understand it's a comedy, but like it's just nice seeing a trailer. It's like, wow, so much wonder.
But the thing about this, I think I mentioned before, unlike Secret Invasion, there is no overpromise in a Loki season 2, right? We're just getting Loki season 2. It's not like Loki, you know, King of Asgard. They're not overselling it with the title of what it really is. Because Secret Invasion, as we talked about, I believe last week, just really undersold the title by a long shot. So if you're getting Loki season 2, you're like, okay, and then it really kicks off like, oh, Loki is time slipping, so he's being pulled through time, and nobody knows what that is. So boom, there's our mystery for the episode, and we get to see him kind of go through several times, including what appears to be like an early 1900s, late 1800s kind of era, where we get to see it was from the ending of Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, right, with a version of Kang. We get to see a Miss Minutes kaiju monster in like that same era kind of come to life there, which was kind of cool. You know, the other characters, I forget what the it's not Agent 18, whatever that the lady's name who arrested him to begin with. She was in that. Ravonna Renslayer, fucking Tom Hiddleston doing his hair flip every chance his Loki hair flip every chance I think there's like 4 or 5 times this trailer he does that. And then obviously Sylvie back working at McDonald's in one of the clips or one of the shots. I don't know what to make this. I don't know how it's going to start or it's going to end. There is a shot of Mobius getting into a spacesuit to go out to the end of, looks like a branching timeline or a coupler like that, maybe like it's supposed to do something with the timelines.
That was really, really cool, right? Because I feel like the fandom, and I think rightfully so, latched onto that visualization of the timeline fracturing, and we've not really seen a follow-up on it that much. One thing that is a little, I don't want to say necessarily confusing about this trailer, but the Loki, the first season, and it looks like the second season, they've always leaned into this concept of time, right? We have Miss Minutes, like the TVA that are basically like time cops. And if you kind of fold in the explanation from, what was it? Was it Endgame, right? When they were doing time traveling, and then the Sorcerer Supreme, or I guess the old Sorcerer Supreme as a ghost, but in the but in the past, when she was explaining how when the time branches off, you're creating these alternate realities, right? Which is kind of another way of saying multiverses. But I feel like the multiverse that's been explained recently is like, oh, it's always been there and it's always been around us. You just can't see it or you can't get to it. Whereas Endgame and Loki kind of postulate, no, that there was always just one universe until you came in and broke it. So it's still like a little confusing of where we're supposed to be.
Well,
and I know like the people have been, and also like the time slipping, as you mentioned to me earlier this week, looks a lot like, the Spider-Verse glitching, right?
Yeah, exactly. So like he's like morphing around and like being pulled and stuff, and it looks like the characters. I forget what they called it in the Spider-Verse movies, right? Like wherever they're like, oh, you're out of your timeline, or you're out of your universe, we're gonna pull you. So as you mentioned, is it time travel? Is it multiversal? Like they call it time slipping in the MCU. If you time travel, you create a variant, a branch universe, and TV was pruning those. Well, with the I wouldn't say He Who Remains, with him being killed, has the pruning stopped because no one's there to say this is the final timeline, if you will. This is the one that we need to. So I expect to see obviously the Kang War, really, with all these branches. Loki hits a wall with one of those scepters and reveals the Kang statues behind it at one point in the trailer.
Yeah, I mean that's a very good point. We still very much have a visual of Jonathan Majors in this show, right? Yeah. And in the trailer as well. I don't know if maybe that's a hint of where they're going with him and his career as Kang moving forward at Marvel. Because, I mean, if they already shot the show and they couldn't really find a decent way of removing his likeness, they could have, I think at very least, just not have included him in the trailer. Mm-hmm. So maybe this is kind of like a test of just like, well, he's in legal trouble, but we don't seem to be getting a lot of backlash putting his face in the trailer. Let's kind of see how it goes. And I haven't been following that, his case very well, but it seems to ebb and flow between he's innocent or he's not. And he's really not innocent, or he's like, oh, it's fine, and no, it's really bad.
The trial was pushed back a month recently, so he hasn't even gone through the trial yet. So absolutely. So again, as we would say, innocent until proven guilty, but does Disney want controversy on their hands, no matter which way that goes, right? At the end of the day. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, he was definitely in it, but at the end of the day, it's really again a Loki show, and it's I miss the TVA boxes where they ported through stuff, and that's gonna be really fun to see those come back. I thought so. I don't know where this is going, but like I said, Loki has no consequences that we know of yet, which is cool, right? I think that if any show is going to affect the MCU going forward at large, it has a chance to be Loki. But I'm very excited to dive back into this and really just spend some time with Tom Hiddleston doing Loki stuff throughout the universe. Do you think Mobius is going to get his jet ski in this one in the season?
Not till the series finale.
Not till the end.
Too soon.
Yeah, I'd love to see him. He's supposed to pop up in Deadpool 3, so I'd love to see him do that as well. But that's coming out October 6th, by the way. So if anyone had forgotten, we are a short 2 months away from watching Loki in at home, not theaters, at home on Disney Plus. Starting that. This is hot news, Mike. I actually typed this while we were talking already. I don't know if you knew this, but I Am Groot got a trailer today, confirming season 2 for September 6th. Kind of how we, I guess, speculated several weeks ago, which is National Tree Day. So the first link we have in there is a trailer showing off some of his little journeys. It's still Baby Groot as far as we can tell, from Guardians 2 era, not the teenage Groot, sadly. But he is going to be, building snowmen and getting a nose and some other goofy stuff. Looks
like he's driving an ice cream truck as well.
Yeah. So fresh batch of shorts. I'm gonna guess 5, right? Maybe that's how many they did last time. Could be 5 or 6 of these little shorts. The other thing is a poster here showing Groot with a baby bird in his head for the poster on again National Tree Day. That's pretty cool. I have no qualms. This is the kind of stuff bent for streaming, Mike. I like this kind of content on streaming. Like it's little fun things.
I've always wondered how much shorts kind of in general like move the needle with streaming services, right? Because I feel like a streaming service would hope there's a future where all they would have to make is kind of shorts because they're cheap to make. You get to say, oh, we've added something new. It's a new title to the lineup. You know, the library gets a little bit bigger, but you know, the shows are like micro dosing, right? So I don't know. I think the problems with shorts though is you never get kind of like the big swell of an audience talking about it, right? You know, you're in and out of it like so quickly you forget about it. And I forgot about season 1 of I Am Groot until we brought it up here.
Well, I think they're good supplements, right? Like they're good to have as an option. And I will use Disney's Mickey Mouse series that popped up in 2015, I think, or maybe 2013. As an example, these are like 2 to 7 minutes at most. So these are like Emmy award winning shorts, if you will, with this art style. Like I think you can be really creative and have a lot of fun and be very concise in your stories that are non-consequential, really, at the end of the day, in a short form of entertainment, especially animation. The Disney ones I'm talking, the Mickey Mouse shorts that are actually, they base that ride. What's that new ride at Disney called?
Runaway Railway.
That's the animation that this is based on, and that's the animation style in the new Illusion Island game for Switch that my wife has beaten in the first week we had it because she was obsessed with it. So I think there is a benefit to shorts as filler at the end of the day. Aqua Teen Hunger Force to me is a short TV show, right? Those were 10 to 11 minutes. So I see value in, but like I said, I get what you're saying. Like there is no, what do you call it, zeitgeist, no water cooler talk, if you will.
Yeah. I guess we should not also underestimate the power of children's access to Disney Plus. Yeah. If one kid out there really likes Groot, they may have watched every short of I Am Groot like literally like 30 times.
Yeah. Yeah, you need to go to the bathroom by yourself and your kid won't leave you alone. Put on an I Am Groot episode real fast. You got this. But yeah, I think they're harmless little things. But coming out September 6th, just a month away. So they'll be next on our release list. We're going to shift into Coven of Chaos news, Mike. We've talked a little bit about this with The Witch's Road, but Aubrey Plaza is rumored to be playing a character called Rio Vidal, the first Green Witch in Marvel. Now, the only thing I could find about Green Witches in Marvel was the character Enchantress, which you're familiar with. She's, a mystic magic user, but this is not her. I can't find anything about this. But the biggest flag here is that this person, Rio, is an ex-girlfriend of Agatha as well. So they have a history together whenever the show starts.
Oh, I mean, I guess I never really envisioned Enchantress as a witch, even though I guess if you look at it, out of context, I guess, that those are witchy powers. But, when they're always kind of paired up in like an Asgardian sense, I just kind of considered her more of like
an Asgard
figure,
Yeah. Well, I would say, I thought about that too, and I was like, oh, well, Thor's mom, Freya, she calls herself a witch. Like, she's one of the witches as well.
Does that make Loki a warlock then?
He's more of a wizard, if you will. But
wizard,
he's a magic user. He uses his own kind of trickery magic, but it is green. Notice that it is. Marvel has color for their magic, right? And orange is Doctor Strange. I guess structured magic. Red is chaos magic. Green is going to be probably like maybe trickster magic at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So
Chris, the audience already knows this. I am just anticipating one day just an extremely sophisticated lore dump on many levels just to set the record straight with the MCU. Just give me a long monologue of just like a witch in one of these shows or movies, just like really explaining magic, Here's a chart, here's a whiteboard, this is where Doctor Strange and all of his kids and students access magic. This is how I access magic. This is the reason why it's color coded,
Yep, and they're gonna hand wave it and be like, "We fooled you. Forget it. We're gonna do whatever we want."
Yes.
But hopefully, maybe one day they come out with an MCU encyclopedia, or what is it? Their MCU Bible, right? Like a public version. I'd love to have my hands on that. Like, just really dig into how much of that's blank right now because they're figuring out as they go. But yeah. Fantastic Four news. More notes is the rumor is Joseph Quinn of Stranger Things season 4 is rumored to have gotten the Johnny Storm role.
Is that the Eddie Munson?
It is
character?
Eddie. Yes, Eddie from season 4. So
extremely popular.
That's so hot right now.
That's a good casting choice for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So he'd be Johnny Storm, and then Vanessa Kirby, as we talked about, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning as Susan Storm. She's the one you looked up, and you're like, oh, all the artwork makes her look like Susan Storm. For that. But the Invisible Woman / Susan Storm is to be the focus of this team's movie. She's like the lead character. That's why they haven't cast Reed yet, or they probably have the thing, but like we haven't got confirmation whether Kylo Ren is going to be him or not. So
I mean that would I never pictured, I guess, because usually when you picture the Fantastic Four, I never really necessarily picture one of them being a lead. I just kind of imagine it as an ensemble.
Yeah.
But I guess if you imagine Guardians of the Galaxy, mostly, even in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 being mainly focused on Rocket, it still ends up usually being like Peter Quill front and center. So that'd be kind of interesting, putting Invisible Woman in the front. I saw that there's rumors that possibly Matt Smith could be cast as Mr. Fantastic, which could be,
it's a death kiss for this movie, but go on.
I mean, I beat this dead horse all the time, right? I'd love to see an evil Reed Richards, and I feel like Matt Smith would make a great evil Reed Richards at some point.
Matt Smith is great as Doctor Who, but everything he's been in since then, Morbius, Terminator, Genesis, what has he been in that's really turned the page, right?
House of Dragon, that would be what's, I guess, but that's TV, I guess, if you
want
to
categorize
categorize that slightly differently.
Yeah, he's good in a TV role. I just haven't seen a movie with him that's really been like, oh, this has sold me on him as a movie actor. So I'm not against it. I think there's opportunity all around, but I don't think these deals are going down right now because they can't be they can't sign contracts right during the striking. They can't have conversations about actors negotiating during this stuff. So I don't know how this is working, but we'll be seeing more. Now it is interesting to know, I believe, and I'm going to look this up, are all these, they're all English. These are all English people. Are they going around SAG-AFTRA and going into England where they don't have SAG-AFTRA to hire these actors?
I don't know. I mean, that could be a little bit of a conspiracy theory, but it kind of holds true a little bit,
All three of those names we just named off are from overseas. So
also, it's a nebulous zone, right? Of like being cast, where like has money really been exchanged, in a way? Has anybody technically done work for anybody yet? Not necessarily. So I don't know. Like you mentioned earlier, they are starting to go back to the table this month. It did not go well last week when it started, but at least the communication lines have opened, so that's good.
And I saw that they did say that they would be coming back again this week, so rather than wait another 90 days, they are looking to do it more weekly than anything. So hopefully we get some good news out of this as things kind of come together. Deadpool 3, one of the biggest questions after seeing Hugh Jackman in the comic accurate Wolverine outfit is, will he wear the mask, Mike? Will he wear a mask? And the rumor is that he will be wearing the full Wolverine mask with black pointy wings and the white eye covers, like Deadpool. So that's fine, right?
It makes you wonder, in the context of a Deadpool movie, right? Do you do it kind of in a more of a classical style where he's not wearing the helmet for the whole movie, but then when the third act action ramps up, he throws it on, Deadpool makes a funny joke about it, and then we see it? Or is it like he shows up wearing it, gets made fun of for looking silly, and then gets it ripped off and we never see it again?
One of the cool things about the Deadpool movies is that they were able to make his eyes work on those suits, like through CG, right? They moved them a little bit, but like white eyes don't have to just be dead looks anymore because CG's come so far.
Isn't that so crazy that like us as an audience will totally let that pass, right? That when Deadpool emotes, like his fake white eyes, which are perceived to be just cloth on a mask, right, move and emotes. Even though in the real world that just straight up would not happen. Like you can kind of get away with it with Spider-Man, right? Because it's a technology base suit. So, and they played that up a little bit more the first time that we've seen Tom Holland as Spider-Man. I feel like they've slipped away a little bit more from like the mechanicalness of the eyes as being an explanation. But yeah, it is weird. Just like, oh, this is supposed to be a very realistic world, but somehow his super-powered eyebrows remove the mask.
Yeah, he is talking to the audience, but
I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I just think it's interesting. Yeah. Even myself, we're okay with it.
Exactly, and I think in that world, Hugh Jackman could have it, and they could easily do the same thing. So I think it'd be really fun to do that. So very excited to see that come to life. For those who don't know, Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is now on Disney Plus. You're looking for something to stream. And the Disney Plus timeline has confirmed that this takes place in its release order, so after Ant-Man 3, but before Secret Invasion. Very minimal stuff here. Again, you can go watch it on IMAX if you go to the special features, or what's it called? I think it's just features, maybe. I forget. And watch the IMAX version of it. This movie, absolutely fantastic to watch. If you've not seen it, you missed it when it came out earlier this year. Maybe you're burnt out on superheroes, or you're just like, Ant-Man wasn't good, why would I watch this? Secret Invasion wasn't good, why would I watch this? Is going to cleanse your palate from all the Marvel stuff. Yeah. So,
but I mean, like this release order news almost like makes no difference, right?
Yeah,
it has no interplay with any of these movies at all. Like, I could see maybe a cut, line or a small scene removed, where maybe the High Evolutionary has knowledge of Kang, right? I could see those types of people like sitting down, like getting coffee, because they're both just like megalomaniacal, like evil men, right?
Yeah.
So I could see that happening, like in universe,
or even like taking Skrull DNA, right? Like from Secret Invasion, maybe more so than Ant-Man.
Yeah,
like,
that could be a possibility, but we never see any of
that.
No,
we don't know. It literally doesn't matter, but the only, I guess, timeline away we have officially is when you look on Disney Plus, right? Like if Disney Plus has it, that's our official timeline. Does it matter at the end of the day? No, but most of them are going to be, I think, going in order. I'm going to go back to Fantastic Four. You know what the rumor I heard was? The other rumor?
What?
It takes place in the 60s, and they end up in modern time, kind of like Captain America does.
I mean, that was a big pitch. I don't remember exactly where it came from.
Like years ago. I think
it was possibly the film critic / YouTuber Movie Bob. Which I haven't really watched his content in a while, but he had a big Fantastic Four pitch, which was something along those lines, since the team just in general is kind of like a corny, cheesy team that could only really exist in an earlier decade, and then they get thrown forward in time. That could be cool. I do like that rumor.
And so that would be a situation where, like, oh, you want to watch the timeline? Well, then we got to throw this, after Captain America, if you want to count that as the first one, but before Captain Marvel, we have Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
So,
well, and also if you really wanted to throw timelines into Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, theoretically, when Peter Quill, gets back to Earth and he's watching television, right? He could be watching news reports of Skrulls being shot, on the front of him. I don't think
technically
Peter Quill movie or show will deal with that, but
technically he would be an alien on Earth, right? Since he has like celestial DNA, he's half celestial, so he could be a victim of that down the road. The xenophobia of aliens on Earth. But honestly, the only thing that matters is it takes place after Thor: Love and Thunder, because they were in the intro, right, with that. So at the end of the day, that's really all that matters. I think you can watch them in any order and you'll be fine. But that would explain why Thor is not with them. Is watching the first part of Thor: Love and Thunder. Avengers 5 and 6. These are coming out eventually. 2 years apart now, right? Remember they spaced them out. But Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars working titles are confirmed to be called Apple Pie 1 and Apple Pie 2. And while I'm like, this means absolutely nothing, I read on that it suggests that it's a nod to Carl Sagan's statement, if you wish to make an apple pie from scratch, you must first invent the universe. So that's fun if that's what it is. If it's just someone was just picking random things around their house one day when you're like, we got to name things, that's less fun. But I do find it interesting that they're doing numerical like sequences like this, because I believe even Endgame and Infinity War had different names, right? Now, mind you, there was 5-year time gap between them. Will there be time gap between these? I don't know. Maybe they're filming these back to back, Mike. At the end of the day,
will we see abstract black and white photos from the set like the Russos did with Easter eggs of what the movie title was going to be. That was a fun time. Man, that was before the world descended into madness.
Remember whenever they tried to tell us that the title was not in-game? And they were like, they didn't say it in that first movie. What are you talking about? And then up until the point where like, okay, it's called in-game. You're like, you sons of bitches. You got this.
You bastards. I mean, I guess if you had to infer from, if you had to make an apple pie from scratch, you must first invent the universe.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really the only stakes really left, right? When it comes to Marvel, like Endgame, the stake was literally half the universe, right? They brought half the universe back, so they saved half the universe. Well, I guess no, there's more, because you could kill the whole universe, but then now there's also multiverses as well. So
well, my guess is going to be and I hate to say it's going to be an Infinity War Endgame part where the Kang Dynasty, they technically lose, and all the universes are wiped out or merged together but one, and then Secret Wars is like, we found a way to unbreak the universes again and get back to what we had.
Yeah, it does really make you wonder what the grand plan is here now, right? If we've talked about this before, but if you were looking at this through a comic book lens, right, they're obviously approaching a whole universe reset, right? Because they want to reissue Spider-Man #1, Captain America #1, X-Men #1, right? They want to just reboot everything so they can bring in new readers. But can you do that in a movie universe, right? Is that a good strategy? I don't know.
Right. And well, I think we are at a point where, people, and this is a complaint even you've had, Mike, there's too much to watch, right? There's too much baggage, and that's why the Ultimate Universe was created. It didn't have that baggage. Like, you could pick it up and just start. You didn't have 40 years of books, 50 years of books to read back on all these stories. You just picked it up and be like, okay, I don't have that many books to pick up on. So is this an opportunity to just do it? This is the MCU 2.0. This is who we brought forward. We don't care if you watch the stuff where all of our stories are starting here and now, with characters, right? Obviously, maybe they bring over Captain America, or Captain Marvel, or whoever. This is where we're starting. We're going forward with them. Buckle up, but you don't have to watch the old stuff to know how they got here.
I mean, that is a really good point. If they did theoretically reboot the MCU, they don't have to lay all the groundwork anymore, but you could argue that laying the groundwork was what made them successful to begin with, right? Yeah. But yeah, you're right. They don't have to go back. They don't have to acquire legally the rights to all these characters that they couldn't start with. They can just start day one, movie one. Hey, cameo of a She-Hulk here, right? We could throw in, Quicksilver over here. Oh, look, there's a Magneto. So I wonder if maybe money, honestly, like everything, is going to dictate the answer, right? Because I think, Anthony Mackie as Captain America, it's a cool story point to play, right? Because we do see that go on in the comics. It's always interesting to see a new character pick up the mantle, right? But I just doubt that Anthony Mackie's Captain America movies are just going to be as successful as the original Captain America's, just by the sake of it just not being the classic character. Right. So I just wonder if maybe executives are going to look at this and go maybe we should just reboot all of this so we can bring back kind of OG characters again.
I would say you use a good example, but that's why they brought Harrison Ford in, right? As the second build character on Captain America. But I think there's the point here. Kevin Feige doesn't want to do this forever, right? Obviously, he's going to make enough money and he can retire or go work on another project of his own, right? Start a whole different universe. Maybe put him in charge of Star Wars. I don't know. So does he end his run with a reboot and then set it up for somebody else to take the helm and said, hey, I've set some characters and actors in motion, but feel free to create what you want to create going forward and reinvigorate the universe or world yet again in a different way.
And I think that would be really important, right? Because you want to do that whole narrative. Not only do you want to conclude the narrative on screen, but also the narrative behind the scenes, because that's one thing that the fan base has really gotten into is just, how does Hollywood work? How do these stories come together? So yeah, if there's this whole narrative, just this entire chapter from this mega producer Feige is coming to an end, You know, I wonder if they would even bring back, if they would try to replace him 1-to-1. I think they'd probably do a Gunn Safran kind of move, you know, because then at least, you know, if things don't start to work out, you know, you can kind of let one go, bring in a new person, so you can never really truly place the blame onto one single individual, right?
And you know, with Secret Wars being pushed back to 2027, 2028 would be the 21st year of them doing Marvel, right? So 20 years of Marvel in 2027. You end your 10 year with Marvel. You wrap up this narrative, and you refresh / reboot in 2028. That's a great story for everybody. That's a great marketing push. Can you imagine all the 20 years of Marvel stuff we did? I remember the 10 years of Marvel stuff. So, you know, 20 years of Marvel merchandise everywhere. It's just it seems too good to not do it.
Yeah, I do have to say though, we are often begging, that some mega producer as a Feige would just stroll on into our show, tap on our shoulders, and be like, "All right, boys, it's your turn. You're in charge now." I'm glad I'm not in charge of this decision, right? Because can you just like imagine the first movie after the reboot just straight up just not being a good movie, and then everybody turning on you like on a dime? This was a bad idea. Why would you axe out all of these characters that you worked so hard to build up over the year?
Right. I
can totally see that happening as well. So, I just hope Secret Wars is good, right? You know, I just want it to be good.
both Kang Dynasty has a lot to ride on it, and you know, they have an uphill battle in everyone's mind to get there, and if they can overcome these hurdles now and prove that they're focused on quality over quantity again, we're going to be in a great place. So we're all for that at the end of the day. If you need feedback though, producers, we're here. We'll help you. We'll be honest with you, whether you like it or not. We'll tell you how we feel. So
I mean, we've been doing it I guess pro bono for 8 years now, so.
That's right. we it's almost a fault how honest we are sometimes. So we'll let you know. But anyway, well, that is the episode for this week, Mike. It was a fun one. We got it done. Hopefully, you're not cooking over there.
We came in under 80 degrees. We are in the high 70s in this room. So that perfect. I started in the 80s last week. We were like at 84 last week. So we're already doing much better.
All right. Well, let's get you out of here. Get you on your way. If people want to know what you're up to, what you're doing, where can they find you at, Betty?
They can find me at Mike Royer Design on Instagram, X, Threads. Get
rid of it.
Plug in that social handle pretty much anywhere. I'm probably there. And then you can find other helpful links to find out more about myself. Chris, if people want to find you, where can they find you?
Oh, yeah. You can find me on Instagram, Valdan87, or video games of that same name, Valdan, Valdan. If you know more about the show, come talk to us next. I guess this month we're doing Blue Beetle. It's our next review episode. We do review episodes. Come listen to that. Where can they find all that good information at?
Man, I just realized I have to go see Blue Beetle. I forgot I needed to watch it.
Yeah, it's for like 2 weeks. We're fine. We're good.
Visit superheroslate.com. That's the best place to find all the avenues we host our show. And you got our awesome show notes. So if you want to see the lonely canceled Batgirl logo at the bottom of that standee, we got the link over there in our show notes. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, wherever else you love to listen to find podcasts like our own. If you want to get merch, you can find that at superheroslate.com/store. We love hearing from you. What did you think of Mutant Mayhem? Because if you're listening to this podcast right now, if you didn't see it already, you better be going seeing it right now, or you're not allowed to listen to the show anymore, and I will revoke your Superhero Slate superfan status if you don't go see this. That's right. I'm a Paramount shill now. And
you have to have that to fly now. So
yes, exactly. It's like your real ID, like your passport, Superhero Slate superfan. At least our pass is like holographic. If you haven't gotten it in the mail, it's coming. Don't worry. But if you want to be a Superhero Slate superfan, all you got to do is share the show with a friend, share the show with a buddy, and go see Mutant Mayhem because I love it so much. I love my little turtles, my little tortoises, or I'm gonna mollywop you. Wow. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Gitchy goo, as they say, Mike, in the movie. But we will catch you guys next week.
Bye.
Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe.